Welcome back to the tunnel project. In the last video I showed you how I modeled a little bit of the train, and I want to focus on the train and just show you that right now. So here's what I've got. There's my train. I put some windows on here and a couple of lights. I lengthened it and dragged that down there. And I've done a little bit of work on the undercarriage, and that's what I'm going to do. It's not necessarily realistic, but it fills up the model anyhow. So there's our train, and we're going to get started now with texturing, and I'm going to start working on the speakers. And what I'll do is I'll texture one of them and then I'll just copy it down here. I'll get rid of those other ones. So we're going to focus on that guy right there. So we'll come over to UV editing, use the slash key, and just focus on that. Alright, so here goes. What I'm going to do is press 2 for edge selection, and I'm going to select this, I think I'm going to select that one there. Control E and mark seam, and then I'm going to come around and select all these ones. There's 5 loops, so I can go right in the middle, that one, and that one, Control E, mark seam. Now, because I'm going to be working in Substance Painter, one thing to keep in mind is these seams can be helpful for not only unwrapping but also for determining where your textures are going to go. It helps you with masking. And so I'm going to select this edge that just goes around here and goes around all this center flat piece right there, and Control E, mark seam, and that's going to actually help me isolate this area to put a different material, if I choose to, compared to this very easily. And the same goes for the speakers. If I wanted to do a separate material for those, I'm just going to choose this sort of the innermost lining of this main layer here. I think that's that, and I'm gonna do that there. And for these guys, the same thing here. I'm going to have these as a black sort of plastic material, and I want a white on there. And so if I just select that edge and mark seam, I can easily delineate this from this, and I'll show you what I mean when we get into Substance Painter. Control E, mark seam. Let's test that and see what the unwrap looks like. Alright, it gives me this big piece. That looks fine. All these pieces, I'm just looking for stuff that's kind of looks flat. I mean, it is 2D anyhow, but I mean, it looks flat, it looks separated, and round pieces, and that's okay. This thing here, if I go out here and I put on sync, I'll select a piece here. Alright, we get the speaker, and that's okay with this part there, that's fine, and this one over here, that's okay there. The only thing that I don't like about this is these pieces here. That's the knobs, and those are, I find those small. I'm going to turn that off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two, I'm just going to move them out for the moment, and this and Control L, and move them out, and I'm going to work on making those larger. So I'm going to take that and S to scale, and I might take one and move it a little bit away from the other one. And then I'm going to take these, which are much larger now, so the textures will be better. I'm going to put one there. I'm going to take this, G, and I'll move that there, into the middle there. I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to go into individual origins, and I'm going to scale them up even more, so even better. Take these two, and actually let's separate one from the other a little bit. Let's move it out of the way. We're in individual origins, S, make them bigger, and let's just figure out where they're going to go. The best place might be in here, and I may not be able to get them much bigger than that unless I put them here. I don't think I'm better off by doing that, so I'm just going to drop that in there. Take this one and drop that in there. I could probably go a little bigger than that even. Obviously I don't want them to overlap, and that's probably fine. Now if I take this and I pack, I can get them even a little bit bigger Okay, there's a bit of space there. All right, and of course I just used UV Pack Master there, but you could just use Blender for that. All right, so there is my unwrap is done. You can view it on the model if you want, or I know that's going to be fine. And I'm going to go into Substance Painter in a moment, and we're going to see. And if there's any problem, I would come back and do it again, or you can visualize it on your model. So the idea now is to just first of all make sure that there's no modifiers. This one is okay, I find, and you know, make sure that you've gone. And I hope this doesn't show up anything. Okay, no, merge by distance. Sometimes you'll need to do that. But I've got my unwrap ready. It's all one model, but I've got seams to help indicate where certain areas are. And now you would just export this as an FBX, export FBX, and bring it into Substance Painter. If that's the route you're going. If you're going to do this in Blender, then fine. And if you're going to use procedural materials, you may not even have had to unwrap it. All right, over to Substance Painter. So here is the speaker cabinet brought into Substance Painter, and I've already baked the mesh maps, and I've named this as a particular material. I called it TP for Tunnel Project Speaker, and I'm going to delete the default layer, and I'm ready to start. And I'm going to use material for this, and I'm going to search for plastic, and I'm going to start with this plastic grainy, which comes with Substance Painter, I'm pretty sure. Just drag that in, and you can see it goes everywhere. And so what I want to do is I'm going to add a black mask, come to my projection, polygon fill, sorry, and I'll choose, we could try UV chunk and see how it goes. All right, it might be, I'm actually going to do it there, but I don't want this much on there. So we're going to go back to just the paintbrush. That didn't make any sense what I just said. So what I'm trying to say is I want to switch this to triplanar. Shut off the manipulator, and I want the grain to be smaller, so I'm going to try 3 and see. I do want you to actually see it. If I make it too small, you'll never see it, but the good idea about having it there, even if it is too small, is it will reflect the light ever so slightly differently, and so it'll kind of break up the light, as you can see here. It won't be so harsh. So I may actually go up to 4 and just leave it at that. And as far as the color goes, I don't mind that as my sort of black color. All right, so I was debating about whether I wanted it just there or there and on here, and then the speaker is slightly different. So I'm going to try on the black mask putting it on here as well and seeing if it still looks okay. This is just one prop of many. I'm just going to hold down the shift and right mouse button to move the light. And you know what? I kind of like that. And so I may keep it on both. So that's that. I don't really need to rename it. Let's do the knobs next. All right, for that one, I'm going to try this plastic mat here. Yeah, let's do that. Then let's add a black mask. Choose this and go over to, this is mesh fill. I'm going to choose the knobs there, and we're going to make those black. I just wanted a sort of a more almost shiny-ish, shiny black plastic for the knobs. You're never going to see the difference, but just it's there. And I want some white on here as well. So what I'll do is I think I'll just duplicate this layer, and it's got a mask on it. I'm going to clear the mask. I'll change this color here to a white or whiter color, like that. Go back to the black mask now, and with my polygon fill tool, I'm going to switch this. I'll switch this to UV, and I'll just drop the white in there. And again, so the benefit of those seams was that it helps keep the white in that area. All right, so that's really it for the knobs, unless you wanted to put anything else on it. But you know, it's going to be so far away that you probably never see the white either. And now for the speakers themselves, I'm thinking they might be fine with that black. So what if I come back to the mask here, and I'll go to mesh fill, put it on there. The only thing is that you're really not going to, you can't really tell the difference between this. Well, actually you can a little bit. It's different than the grainy part, so that's okay with me. All right, so yeah, that's okay with me having it like that. So that's there, but we'll do some sort of metal highlight here. So we've got that, and now I'm going to take another material here. Let's try this aluminum. Take this aluminum. I obviously don't want it everywhere, so I'll put a black mask and come over here, and I'll use this, and I'll put it on there. I can also come to here and turn on anti-aliasing. So on the main layer here, I'm going to right click, add filter, and in the filters I'm going to come down and choose this matte finish rough that I often use. You may not see much of a difference, but it does give it that kind of a look, and I'll scale that up, and it just breaks it up a little bit. So that's there. We'll put some dirt or whatever on this in a bit. Now there is something else that I want to do first though, and you can go through and call this speaker metal, and this is sort of, I don't know, this is knob white, and this is shiny black. It's not very shiny, but whatever. And this is grainy black, something like that. Yeah, I want to see about putting an effect on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to orthographic, and it's tilted a little bit, so it may not work perfect. So I'm actually going to turn it up that way a little bit. And let's create a new layer, just a paint layer in this case. And I'm going to use just height. We'll try this with just height. And I don't know if I want to go down or up. I'll go down to about there for the moment. I'm going to come to my alphas, type in circle. I'm going to choose this one. And let's see if this is what I want. Kind of like the double. Okay, let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to symmetry in the Z. Okay. And let's see what this would look like if I was able to do this. Now, this may take a moment. I don't want you to get too bored. Okay, so I may not do a great job, but I'll try to do this as quickly as I can and make it look okay. I think that's, yeah, it's a 2, maybe not quite as deep for this next one. Nah, just give me a minute here. I can keep going. I don't know if this is going to look good or not, but let's see if I can do one more. Do I want to do one more? I may not be centered at all. Whatever, good enough. You're not going to see it that well. Let's go back into perspective view. And then I was thinking on, let's call this speaker grooves or something. I was thinking on this layer, you can reduce the opacity, but I was thinking of something like the blur filter. Let's try that and see. It's just a little bit, it's like that. Does that look any good? Does that look dumb? Maybe, I don't know. I hope it's going to look okay. All right, anyhow, let's say that's there. All right, so let's see if this would look any good with metal edges. Just color and a black mask. Let's just try a generator. I mean, it don't look any good at first. Bring the wear down. We could try planar. Play with the grunge. I just want a little bit, and so I'm going to reduce this so that you almost don't even see it. You didn't even know it was there. Just like that. That's all I want to do. All right, fine. We'll go bring it up a tiny bit more. There. You don't even know it's there. And you can blur that as well. It just helps bring out the highlights, helps you to see the speaker versus the cabinet. All right, so this is edges, almost invisible edges. And then the final thing, I know there's a couple more things. Another fill layer, height only, decrease it. We'll do some scratches on here. And we'll do black mask, and we'll do a fill. And in the grayscale, I will choose scratches. These ones here, there they are. I'll just decrease the balance. And there's just going to be a few of them. You can play with all of these values. I just want a couple of nicks out of it. Like that. If I up the resolution, right now it's at 1024. If I up the resolution to 2K, you'll see them much more prominently. And I may not do that. I may not have to do that. But that's what I've got there. Just a little bit of that kind of stuff. And yeah, we'll call those scratches. And then we'll do some dirt. So I will use color. I don't even need to use roughness, but I'll just throw that all the way up. I'll try to get it more of a brown than a black. It might be a bit more visible this way. I'll add a black mask and generator. And for this, I probably will just use the dirt generator and just dial it back. But I do want some of it in there. And there it is. There's the dirt. And that it acts kind of like ambient occlusion in some ways and just helps things stand out. It makes it look a little bit more realistic, I think. So that's fine there. I just don't want to overdo it, and that may be too much. And that's a beginner-ish thing too. We tend to, you do too much. And maybe we'll put some screws or bolts. So let's go back to orthographic. And I don't really need to be an orthographic, but just a little bit easier. And what I'll do is I'm just going to use a paint layer again, and I'm going to use just height. I'm going to drop it down quite far. We'll put on symmetry. That still remembers that. And in alphas, I'm going to search for bolt. Now this is a bolt that I've bought. I've done a bunch of this stuff in the past. I provide some free bolts if you don't have any, and they're on the reference channel on the Discord. I'll link you to the reference channel. You can just scroll through. You'll find references for lots of models that I've done, including bolts, some of which I've made, some of which other people have made. And you just bring them in as an alpha. If you don't know how to do any of this stuff, just ask me sometime. But otherwise, I'm just going to select this one. You could just use a circle if you wanted, if you even want to do this at all. I'm just going to make it smaller and zoom in. And I don't want it too small. I want it visible. I'm going to click there and there. So I have some bolts in there. Turn off symmetry, go back to perspective view, and sometimes I'll put dirt in there. Well, let's see if I wanted to put some dirt in them. I'm going to call that bolts. I'm going to drag it below the dirt generator. On the bolt layer, these things here, I'm going to add an anchor point. It will have the name of the layer, so I named it bolts. And in the dirt generator here, this part here, come up to properties, scroll down a little bit, open this up, micro details, choose micro height true, scroll to the bottom, micro height, choose that anchor, and then switch the reference channel from base color to height. And that throws dirt onto the alpha to make it a little bit more reasonable. It also makes them a little bit more visible. All right. And so that's that. That's now done. And there's my speaker cabinet. And then what I'll do is I'll have a look in another lighting situation. I won't scroll through all of them. All right. Okay, assuming that I am done and I like that, I'm not going to bring the resolution here up to 2K. I don't think it's necessary. So I'm just going to check that I've got a name here, and I do, and I'm going to export these textures. I'm going to choose Export Texture. I'm going to choose PBR Metallic Roughness, and there's my name there for what I'm going to do. And I'm going to send this out to just a texture test folder that I use. I'm just going to leave it as PNG 8 bits. Export. So there they are. There's going to be 5 of them. And I'm going to save again. We'll come back to Blender, and I'm going to go over to my shading tab, and I want to focus just on the speaker. And I'm going to click New, and I'm going to call this TP Speaker. Click on my Principled and Shift-Ctrl-T, and let's see where I've got it. TP Speaker. This is it right here. I'm going to choose though. I believe that's it right there. Base color, height, metallic, normal, roughness. Setup. Okay, let's try. I'm going to get rid of the displacement. We're not going to need that. And I just want to have a look at my normal. All right, I'm going to take that off for the moment. And I actually think I'm going to use height data instead. And so I'm going to duplicate this down here, and I'm going to load this height. And that's going to go into a vector bump. Okay, into height, non-color data. And that's going to go into my normal. Right. And we put on 0.1. You can see the effects there. Okay, my scratches are coming through quite strong, and you can tone that down. So the difference here is I'm using height instead of normal. Let's try 0.05. Might be more comfortable with that. And then the lighting will definitely have an impact. It might look a little bit too shiny under that particular light. You know, that light looks pretty good there. Okay. All right, so we have one item textured. I'm going to move on and do the TV and do the electronics, etc., as we work our way up to that train. All right, so hopefully you'll join me for that. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.